Hello students, let's read the problem. And it says, what is the equation of the line that passes through the ordered pairs shown in the table below? So I'm looking for the equation of the line. Is that right? So as soon as I see the word equation of the line, I'm already thinking about a slope and y-intercept. Is that right? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to find the slope. Okay, now remember that there's different ways I can find because slope is the same as rate of change. So I'm gonna choose to use the formula today. Okay, so when I do the formula, I need to choose 2 points from that table and I'm gonna write labels for the points. Okay, so I'm choosing the first one. So this will be x of 1 and y of 1. Second point will be x of 2 and y of 2. Okay, so I'm gonna look for slope. I know that you all know that m is a slope, but let's write it down. So I'm gonna get m equals 6 minus 10 over negative 1 minus negative 3. If we subtract 6 minus 10, we get a negative 4. And if we subtract negative 1 minus negative 3, it's a positive 2. So m is equals to negative 2. So we got the slope already. Okay? So what's the next thing that I want to do? Well, the next thing for me would be to find the y-intercept, right? So let me write it down over here. I need to find the y-intercept, okay? Now, there's something very important that I wish you can remember about a y-intercept. Any point that is on the y or is labeled y-intercept will have x equals 0. Is that right? All the time. So if you look at the table, there's 2 points with zeros. Okay? So this point over here has 0 on x. So guess what? That point is actually my y-intercept. Okay? So my y-intercept will be 4. Okay? So if you're still not sure about why did I choose that one to be the y-intercept, imagine plotting the points 0 and 4, 0, comma 4. Wouldn't that point be on the y-axis? Right? So that's the reason why it's called the y-intercept. That second point, which also has a 0, it's actually your x-intercept. But we're not dealing with that one right now. So I'm not gonna bother you for that one. Okay? So what about if I really want to work it out? What about if I say, you know what, I'm not sure that you're right, Ms. Fernandez, about y-intercept being 4. What about if I want to work it out? That's perfectly fine. And I got the equation for that. Okay? So I'm going to choose 1 point, and I'm going to choose negative 1 and 6. Okay? And negative 1 is x, and 6 is y. So what I'm going to do next, I will replace those values on my equation. Okay? And of course, this is the slope-intercept form. Okay? So y, it's 6. M, I found it earlier, which is negative 2. X is a negative 1. And I write the rest as plus b. So I'm replacing only what I can replace. Okay? Let's go ahead and continue. Negative 2 times a negative 1 gives me a positive 2 plus b. I need to leave b by itself. Remember, we call this solve for b, where b is the y-intercept, if you recall. So I need to get rid of the 2. So I'm going to need to subtract 2 on both sides. Okay? So my 2's are going to cancel. And I'm going to get b equals to 6 minus 2 is 4. So take a look at this answer and take a look at the one that we got earlier on the table. That's the same thing, right? That's my 4. So that's one thing that you guys can try to memorize. If you can memorize that the y-intercept has 0 on the x coordinate, then you don't need to do that much work, right? But you need to make sure that you know where the 0 goes. So what's the next thing that I need to do? Well, I have my slope, I have my y-intercept. Now I need to write down the equation. Is that right? So to write the equation, we're going to use the same equation that we did earlier, okay, which is called the slope-intercept form, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to replace only and only the m, which is the slope, and the b, which is the y-intercept. So I'm going to write this down here. Y equals negative 2x plus 4, because 4 is b, right? And I know what you're thinking, Miss, none of the answer choices look like mine. No, because the answer choices are in a standard form. And the answer that we got is on the slope-intercept form. So let me write it down over here. This is the slope-intercept form. And that's not any of my answer choices look like that. In other words, y is not by itself. So there's a couple of things you can do. You can go and check on the answer choices and leave y by itself, which might take you a little bit of time because you need to do each one of the answer choices, or actually look at the answer that we already have. And I am gonna write it in the standard form. So what I will need to do for my problem is I will need to move the negative 2x to the other side. Is that right? And the way that I will move it to the other side will be by adding 2 x's on both sides. Okay? Because remember that the only way that you can get rid of a negative number is by doing the opposite, which is positive. Notice how my answer choices, most of them do have a 4. So that might be a good sign, right? So my 2 x's cancel out, and I ended up with 4 equals, I'm going to rewrite this. So I got 2x plus y equals 4. And if you look at that answer choice and look at my answer choices, which one is correct for me? It should be letter C. Very good. Okay. Any questions on that?